Hey guys, I'm Joe, and we're going to show you how to build a Bradford gate. All right, so here we've got a wood privacy fence. This is going to be a single wood gate. Some of our past videos, we've shown you the differences between a wood gate, steel frame, all those different things that you can go back and see, but we want to give you an inside look on how this wood gate is actually built. So you can see when we frame it, they got the frame up for the fence and they're starting to pick it over here. But whenever you frame your gate opening, you want to just run your top and bottom 2x4 and then leave it open in the middle. And then right now, the first thing when you start with your gate opening, Mario's marked and put in his vertical brace. So you'll start with a vertical brace at the latch post side. So this bigger 6x6 post is going to be our hinge post that everything hangs off of. And then the 4x4 here is going to be our latch post. So here, wherever we framed this vertical piece is going to be the outside edge or the latch side of our gate. So we always measure over 1 inch from the latch. And so you can see he marked and leveled this up. Then the reason we leave this out is because that middle rail is going to come to this vertical piece and doesn't continue all the way. Now he's going to be marking his diagonal brace. So there'll be a diagonal brace and this is a compression brace. Like we talked in some of the past videos, this goes from the bottom of the hinge side to the top of the latch side and actually is counterbalancing or working against gravity, pushing down on it. So that's where you get the compression. Is this an upward force working against that gravity going down on this latch side that's going to be hanging. Now, another thing to note is you can notice that we're using a 3-inch nail to tie this frame together, and that's an important part of it. You'll see sometimes that people will skip that part and they'll put pickets up and then cut their brace pieces and then just attach the braces to the pickets with the 2-inch nails. But that doesn't really tie everything together like you need it and give you the support that you need. Here with these 3-inch nails, it keeps everything tight and tied together. If you just attach these boards to the front picket faces, then actually it can allow it to loosen and get where it actually separates and starts to sag over time. So here you do want to make sure that you've got either a 3-inch nail or 3-inch screw tying this frame all together before you put pickets on. And so here, yeah, just like we're talking about, he's got it tacked together with those 3-inch nails, and then we always use the 3-inch screws to tie it all together to give it a better hold. Again, that's a lot of where the support comes from of tying that frame together. One, you see issues if people don't cut their joints tight enough, and then also if they're not tying it together with something like a screw, those joints can start to settle and separate over time and allow that gate to settle and sag. So yeah, here just putting screws at all the joint parts to tie all that together. Well, yeah, you can see when you put the screw in that there's a little bit of beating up of that moisture. And like we talked with the pine, when they treat this wood, there's a certain amount of moisture that gets pushed into the wood, and so there is an internal, moisture content that you've got to let dry and acclimate as this gets put in place. That's one of the reasons that you need to wait. Even though some stain manufacturers say you can stain that pine immediately after putting it up, it is best if you're going to stain or seal a wood fence to give it time, 4 to 6 weeks to dry out and acclimate and let some of that moisture come out before sealing it, and not sealing that moisture inside the wood. right, so here we're prepping for our latch. So before we put our pickets on, we're putting a 2x4 there that'll help us give a spot to screw our latch into. And then now it's still a solid piece, but we're gonna go ahead and put our pickets on and get everything lined out. And then the last thing we'll do is actually cut the gate loose that'll allow it to swing freely. We have our jig set up and by design to be 3.5 inches above this top 2x4. So you can see he's marking that 3.5 inch for his first picket so that he knows where to orient that picket to the top rail, and then we'll be able to line up his other pickets with that. Mario, what am I missing? Do I remember how to build a gate? Am I missing anything?
I don't think so.
Anything important? So this is our jig for hanging our pickets. So you'll see, guys, sometimes, well, we used to, when I started, used to have to tack a nail up there and run a string line. And that's time consuming, and it's kind of, you gotta make sure you don't bump the string or get out of line. With these jigs, we've got it set up, like I said, to be 3.5 inches above our top 2x4. And then it just serves as a bump rail. You can pretty quickly and easily put your pickets up there. We can run several, then check level, and then go back and nail them in. Got it. And yeah, like I said, once you get your frame in place, just gonna go ahead and put your pickets up there. And we got to go past that hinge post enough so it give us room to put to attach the back side of our hinges. We got that, then we'll put a few pickets on this latch side. So again, we'll line that first picket up flush with the inside of that latch post, giving us that 1 inch gap. And if you remember, if you go back and look at the video about the 3 different types of gates that we can do in a wood fence, we talked about that gap being by design of 1 inch, and not necessarily because of the gate settling or sagging, but with weather conditions, that wood can expand and contract. And so you do need that margin there, that space between, so that it'll clear and latch properly and not get hung up on that latch post. That's why he's doing that. I can show you our hardware. So we've talked about there being carriage bolts on the gate side that bolt all the way through the picket and the 2x4. So that's those that we'll use, and then the longer lags that we'll put on the hinge side that'll go into the hinge post. So yeah, once we get those pickets on and ready, we'll go ahead and mount our hardware. This is our hinges. They come in pairs of 2. On the 6 foot, we want to do a hinge on each 2x4 rail. Like 8 foot would have 4. So we'll actually use a pair and a half. So we'll have 3 hinges on this gate. But this is the black powder coated hinge. This is what we call a strap hinge. So with this gate, it's going to swing out. And so this is the most common. That's the most common setup. 90% of the time, the gate hinges from the outside and swings out this way. There are instances where either the elevation change or some kind of obstruction makes it to where we'd have to swing it in. We have another hinge for that. It's a T hinge. It looks similar on this side, but then has more of a block here that allows us to hinge it from the back side and swing it in. But here, this is the most common setup for a strap hinge for a gate that swings out. If you notice here, there's a little bit of a fall or grade change coming away from the house. When you have any elevation change across the opening of the gate, you want to make sure that you hinge your post like it is on the lower side so that your gate will swing properly. If you were to hinge it on the high side and then build with this grade, whenever you tried to swing it, it's gonna catch the ground, and you'd have to either only be able to open it up slightly or halfway, or you'd have to trim a lot under the bottom to make it clear, which usually defeats the purpose if you're trying to keep dogs or something in. So anyway, that's a tip to remember. If you've got elevation change, you want to hinge on the low side. But yeah, so back to the hardware. This is our hinges. We'll have 3 of those here, and as you'll see, and as we've talked before, it comes with these 2-inch lag screws, which do well, but they're only long enough to go, if you see, so they're only long enough to go through the picket, and then it goes through the picket and into pretty deep into the 2x4, but again, it's only holding into the 2x4, and that's why on the gate side, as you'll see, we'll elect to use those carriage bolts I was just showing you, and we'll bolt all the way through and have sandwich all that together. And then I'll show you, we've got on the post side, we've got some longer lag screws here that are long enough to penetrate past that 2x4 and into some of the meat of that post to give a better hold and help prevent these smaller lags from backing out and having issues with your hinges and the gate hanging in the future. All right, so we got our pickets up. We still haven't cut anything out here, but we know that this is our hinge spot. So we're gonna go ahead and mount our hinges and our hardware. We'll put just get them in place with the lag screws, and then we'll come back and do our bolts and the longer lag into the hinge post. And we're just lining those, you're lining your hinges up with your 2x4 that's behind the picket there. And that lag screw is a little bit longer, so like we're looking, it goes past that 2x4 and back into the post to give some added support. And then those bolts, we'll go around the back side and put our washer, a lock washer, and a nut. But those bolts bolt all the way through, so that's nothing, as long as that nut doesn't come off the back, it's not something that could back out. So it helps stabilize that gate and hold it in place for a long time to come. So now we'll go around the back and finish out the hardware and get ready to cut the gate out. Some of them not fitting. Let me hold it from the other side?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. cut through the 2x4. We didn't mention it before. We happened to have, we got lucky where the joint of these two pickets was right here at the inside face of the post, so that made it pretty easy. If you were picketing this though and the joints didn't line up, you would have to trim your picket one way or the other so that it lines up with the inside of your hinge post here. And then yeah, we had our hinges on, and then we just cut through that 2x4 and it creates that that joint right there. So now what's left is to put our latch on, and then we'll also put some contact blocks on this latch post to help support the gate to close up against them. So there's our latch, then we got a handle that'll go there with that latch. This is yeah, this is ideal. It opens, swings fully, and then we're almost done. Last thing we'll do, like I said, we'll put a couple 2x4 contact blocks here, and what that does is just allows this gate to have something to close up against at the top and bottom. It does fill that gap a little bit, but the main thing is just to have some support that the gate frame, when it's closed, is closed up against that and keeps it straight and true. It's kind of hard to try to pre-build them. And, you know, you may have a little bit of fall here, a little bit something different. So it definitely works out best just building it into the fence just like that, and then bracing it properly to do what we did, and then yeah, then you got a gate. All right guys, so that's a gate build for a single wood gate. I hope that was helpful. Make sure and like this video and subscribe to the channel for more gates just like this.